Pike's pushed more and forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's left on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Hello everybody and welcome to the TVG GR86 series from the Tanso Racing Group. We're now at the penultimate round of our season where there are just 4 more races to go overall. Summit Point later on, but first of all Road Atlanta, the American leg to end out our 7-round season. It's myself, Ian Leary, and Bradley Dalton alongside me for this one here once again. Apologies for the absence of standings, by the way, during this broadcast. For some reason, the website that is used in this league to hold these standings seems to be down, so I don't know what's going on there, and that means we'll be in the dark a little bit. But just going from memory. So there we go. We'll work through it though. It's good to be back, Brad, on Sunday night. Road Atlanta is a great circuit. It's very topical at the moment with Petit Le Mans in real life last weekend. Some of these drivers might have even been endurance racing on this circuit only yesterday. But today they're in the GR86s again round here. I think a track that may well suit these cars quite nicely, actually. It's also quite a short lap for these cars, which is quite good. But yeah, that long run down towards the final chicane is going to be really suited to these cars that, of course, draft so well.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. It is nice to be here today. Seen a lot of Road Atlanta in the past few weeks, as is kind of the case in sim racing. You get the race in real life, and then we go ahead and we just bring the action over into the simulator world. Of course, with Petit Le Mans going on, and now we've, of course, got Tanso here going. Here on the JPBroadcasting network, we had VWSC yesterday that ran 100 laps of Road Atlanta, so plenty of action around this track. It's a track that I really think most people are familiar with, but if you're not, it's 12 turns, but for some reason, in fun American fashion, we call turn 10, 10A and 10B, which I will never really understand, but it is something we do, and it's something we're just kind of comfortable with here. The S's are, of course, a super dangerous area, but I do agree with you, Ewan, that this track, I think, is the most suited we've had all season for the GR86s. It's not too technical. It's not, a really big, wild track. The laps are about 90 seconds to 100 seconds a lap, minute 30, minute 40, so just what you want to see in terms of pace, and all the drivers have looked fairly comfortable here going into this round.
I think it's, as I say, I think it is a circuit that you can get comfortable on in the GR86s for sure. First lap times are going to come in very shortly. Lee Rylands is first out across the line, or going to be. Tor Atkinson at the moment has the second sector purple. Andy White has the first. Craig Courage has the third. It's spread apart between the three of them for the moment. Of course, Pro-Am am still all up for grabs here, although the Pro Championship is pretty much settled. Scott McFall has, I think, over 150 points now over the nearest rivals, so that is pretty much sewn up from this point. Over the line for Lee Rylands, he will indeed set the benchmark then for everybody else to try and beat, and immediately Craig Corris does with a 135.8. Stephen Wild pops in at the bottom, Alan McCain as well. And so far, the Pro-Ams have jumped over the pros who have gone across the line, but we're yet to see Jack Holland or Scott McFall, who's making his way down towards the final chicane now. Having taken the first 3 sectors purple, he is surely going to go to the top.
Yeah, no surprise, honestly, to see Scott McFall with 3 purple sectors running on for a 4th sector. Of course, Scott McFall has basically all but secured the overall championship. I think the points gap is 152 points or something along those lines, if I remember right. Really, going into these final 2 rounds, there's nothing that can take Scott McFall away. We're going to see how that shapes out today. For Scott McFall, this is just a nice Sunday drive for him, really. And you can see that, too, with a 134.548, half a second, almost 0.6 of a second up over Holland, and continuing to just put in stellar times here. But Pro-Ams are looking feisty today, and even in the AM class, I've seen a lot of AMs with some good pace. So when you look at that gap in those intervals through the field, Ewan, we're real close, and really depending on luck and just action and how people handle the S's, this could be anyone's game.
The Pro-Am Championship is probably the closest. Well, I suppose not anymore, actually. It's Andy White versus Peter Duke for that one. By the way, White taking 2 wins last time out, putting himself a bit further ahead, but he's only 4th in the Pro-Am standings at the moment. And Peter Duke is not here, so this is going to be his drop round. And that could really shake things up. White has got to take advantage, and there indeed goes to pole in Pro-Am. Certainly is trying to take that advantage as things stand. In the AM standings, it is Terry Atkinson versus Tim Walters. Sean Atkinson only 31 points behind Terry as well. 31 points behind Tim, so he's 49 behind Terry as things stand. So it's very much going to be Walters versus Atkinson, but again, Walters is not here for this round of the championship either, so at the moment, we're going to have to park our championship thoughts for the final round of the season, but for those who are taking drop rounds here, like Peter Duke and Tim Walters, it's going to be very difficult to come back from that next week at Summit Point and actually go on to win this championship, I think.
Yeah, and of course, I think some of the drivers may not be here due to certain real-life obligations and real-life motorsport events that are happening. It is a very, very busy day in the world of motorsports, not just here on the JP Broadcasting Network, as every Sunday is, but in real life as well. Of course, you have the Austin GP going on right now, or the U.S. Grand Prix, depending on what you want to call it, going on in Formula One world. There's IndyCar, there's NASCAR, there's a lot of different things going on in the world of motorsports that have a lot of people's heads pulled, and I will just politely ask, please no spoilers for Formula One, because I will immediately be watching it as soon as this broadcast is over.
Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. I'm not going to bother. I'm just following it now. I'm not watching it now, I should say. I'm waiting for the results. Is what I'm not interested in seeing what's happened. I'll just see the results. Anyway, we'll stay away from that topic of conversation for the next hour and a half or so. So that's fine. 3 minutes to go in qualifying, and almost everybody's done now. Scott McFall over the line in a few moments' time, although he doesn't really need to improve. Jack Holland improves to just under half a second behind him, but still doesn't really get anywhere close. Peter Woodmore will probably be the most interesting one to watch here, because not anymore, because he's just pulled into pit lane. Thought he was improving. He's clearly not. Forster's already done 3 laps, so I don't think any more after this is going to count for him, but he is still out there on the circuit going around. Curtis Matthews has qualified 3rd in the AM standings, and with 2.5 minutes to go, everybody is finished in their qualifying session here, so we can talk about them a little bit. Matthews in 3rd. I don't know if he sent you a picture, Brad, but he sent me a picture of his portable rig, as he described it. It is basically a weekend in which he's travelling for work, and so he's in some hotel room somewhere, and I don't know how on earth he's got the equipment he has over to wherever he's got to, but goodness me, he's done a good job with it. He said, though, it's not quite, he won't quite be on his usual speed or quite like himself because of the new rig. So he's still getting used to it. as it's his first day of driving with it. He did do another race earlier on, and it was broadcasted on the JP YouTube channel earlier on. It was over on this morning over in American time. And so he's got that little bit of experience behind it, but it wasn't in the GR86. And getting used to a new rig setup, even if it is your rig but placed in a different room, is difficult. So look forward to see how he goes today. Although on early showing here from this qualifying session, looks like he's going okay.
So I've been looking at these photos a little bit more, trying to break down exactly what he's running. And he has a Fanatec wheel, Fanatec direct drive setup on a Next Level Racing foldable portable chair with, I believe that's Fanatec, the Fanatec pedals as well. I don't know a lot about Fanatec, so I can't tell you specific makes or models or anything. I can just tell you it's Fanatec. But the big thing that's really catching my eye, besides the fact that he's doing this in a hotel room with a laptop, is that he has VR. He is racing in virtual reality, which is not something that tends to be the most popular option from drivers. But Curtis Matthews, other than having the wonderful festive Halloween paint job you have on your GR86, you're racing in VR. And I tell you what, for someone who said I may not be on the pace, third in class there on qualifying run, not a bad run at all.
I mean, the advantage though for Curtis this time around using VR is that he hasn't had to take a monitor anywhere with him, so that's been helpful, I suppose, in getting set up. But there you go. Good afternoon to Sean Atkinson and Curtis Matthews, who are in YouTube chat, but won't be chatting along with us for the race, I hope. Otherwise, we're in trouble. I did once do a race, actually, a broadcast in which someone who was driving in it was texting us in YouTube while driving. Don't recommend that, of course. Yeah.
I did that last night. I had a NASCAR race that I commentated last night at Vegas, and the leader was side by side going through turns 1 and 2, and we made a comment, and then I guess he was watching and immediately replied in YouTube chat with his strategy. So it was interesting to see. But Ewan, I'll bring up the grid for you here, and let's run our way down this order one time.
Yes, let's. This is the overall order, of course, how they'll be starting this round 6 race. It is Scott McFall and Jack Holland on the front row, with Championship Pro-Am leader Andy White alongside Dan Forster. Peter Woodmore and Adrian Hatfield are sharing row 3, ahead of Jeremy Ullmans and Craig Courish. Alan McCain and Lee Ryland share an all-pro row 5, with Sean Atkinson and Terry Atkinson on row 6. Curtis Matthews still wilder next, followed by Michael Vester and John Johnson. 16 in the field here today, and still top 6 reversed for race 2. The drivers have got just over a minute still to get themselves readied up onto the grid, but the championship leaders in all 3 classes have got themselves up towards the front. I think they're all in strong positions here. I think it's going to be very difficult to see anyone other than Scott McFall taking the overall victory in this race here.
Yeah, it is a smaller group here today than what we normally have had through the season. But even then, I don't think the smaller, I'm using air quotes, you can't see it, but the smaller setup here with the drivers is going to give any less racing. We have some very feisty, fast cars here today, but you know, it is that $1 million question. Could Jack Holland bring it to Scott McFall? Does Andy White have anything to give? Lights are coming out. Here we go, Ewan.
Here we go. It's time for round 6 of the TVG GR86 series, and we are underway once again for 20 more minutes of racing. Scott McFall off the front very well indeed. Jack Holland less so, and he's being hounded now by Andy White on the way towards turn number 1. Side by side between the two, in towards that corner. It's 3 wide in the background as well. There goes Holland round the outside. He will get to second, just ahead of Andy White. Then it's Alan McCain, who's up to 4th place. That's an unbelievable start from him. Surely he's jumped the start or something. It's almost as if that's impossible. Anyway, he's up to 4th here, ahead of Peter Woodmore. Craig Courish. Dan Forster, I'm afraid, has dropped 3 places overall here. There he is, making his way down the S's. That is one of the best starts I've ever seen from Alan McCain to go from 9th to 4th in the space of 1 sector. That's almost unbelievable.
Yeah, we'll go back and watch that start because McCain got an absolute shocker of a jump there. Jeremy Orlemans has lost out. Dan Forrester, Adrian Hadfield have also lost out. Curtis Matthews, unfortunately, is back of the pack right now, running through, but looks to be fairly comfortable in the position. Again, it's early days. Sometimes the race start, you just back out that 1% to run through. Up in the front, though, no surprise to anyone here. Scott McFall in the position he's in and opening up almost a second gap before we can even get down the backstretch to turn 10.
Orlemans is catching and passing Sean Atkinson very early on the straight here. Not sure what's happened through turn 6 for him, but there is Orlemans through now right at the midfield. This battle from 8th place on backwards is a very interesting one indeed. This is on board with Sean Atkinson, who does need to start gaining points on Terry Atkinson if he wants to be involved in the championship finale at Summit Point, along with maybe Walters. There goes Orlemans into pit lane. He dropped back, so I'm thinking it must be a jump start, which is why you'd have to pit this early, but I don't know. There's no damage, of course. It will just be a drive-through penalty for Jeremy Orlemans, who will be down to 16th place, I think, after this.
And it's unfortunate to see Orlemans finding himself in the position he's in, but with that start, I mean, nothing I expected more than a jump start, and it's unfortunate to say, but sometimes that happens. I do want to go back and look at that start from the perspective of Orlemans. We'll go back here in just a moment. Once we can get the replay queued up. Right now, McCain has lost a second to Andy White here up front, and the top few are spreading out. Dan Forrester here trying to put some pressure in on Cornish, though.
Yeah,
Cornish.
certainly.
Not Cornish.
Yes. Nearly. I think this is his first appearance of the season, by the way, for Cornish in the season. Although the name does ring a bell, so I'm thinking maybe not actually. But let's wait and see on that front. Out towards the back straight they go. Top 7 have very much gotten away from the rest, and the top 4, to be honest, are pretty spread apart already here. So there are 2 distinctive groups starting to form now. Hadfield getting quite close to Rylands down the hill here. You can see them in the background battling for 8th place in the field. Hadfield has a look. He doesn't go for it, though, as they stay single file on the way down the hill for the end of the second lap. Alan McCain now getting past, and unfortunately, this has been a mistake out the final corner for Alan McCain. He's passed by Woodmore, Curris, and Forster for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
And there is that run through, getting around, and, you know, for McCain, the big key at this moment is that he's still on track here. Lee Rylands is also our next driver under pressure there in the Adidas GR86 in 8th place. A peak there from Hadfield, not close enough to make a dive into the S's, and now you follow single file. Road Atlanta falls into one of 2 categories for me, depending on how your race goes and how things go. Either it's a very simple, easy time to get some passes done, or you end up with a lot of single file following and a lot of defensive driving from the car ahead, and it just gets very difficult to make a pass. Right now, it seems like everyone's doing fairly okay. It looks like Stephen Wild has had a little bit of an off track there in the background and has dropped down. It looks like he is getting back going, though.
Yeah, that's through turns 5, which is a common sticking point. That was Orlemans and Curtis Matthews both working their way through as well. Orlemans, of course, recovering from that drive-through penalty at the end of the opening lap. This is what happened to Stephen Wild. Over the inside curve, it's one of the 2. It's either inside or outside curve. This time it's inside. Hits the wall. No damage in this series, so get back going again. But it does cost him a great heap of time.
That it does. It's unfortunate to see that there. I do want to go back here while we have a moment. I want to look at the green flag start from Orlemans' perspective here. So this is him going, and you can see right as the green's called. Yeah, just a little. Just enough that it counted.
It's hard to tell from there, but was that him just slightly moving forward, I guess, on the way into the start? Let's have a look here. And while we're doing this, by the way, have a look at Adam McCain as well. Yes. So that was pretty obvious, actually, from that camera. We'll have a look at Adam McCain's start from this point of view. He's in the black and red car. Oh, right through the middle. That was a bit of a squeeze. Orlemans then didn't react to the actual green flag very well, unfortunately, and so everyone was able to get through. McCain through a 3-wide moment towards the straight. Oh, my goodness. Flies through a 3-wide moment into turn 1 as well. I'll apologise for him for suggesting he jumped the start. That is just a very good bit of driving from Alan McCain to gain 5 places in just a few corners. Unfortunately, he's lost a bit with them again. And he's sliding away into the grass. And back on again. Back on the straight. But nevertheless, what a great start. Again. I apologise for the start. That was just great driving.
I really thought McCain jumped the start too, so I guess I owe an apology, but no, yes, just amazing. Someone's been practicing their race starts, as I believe, where that sets in, and very good job here. Now McCain's on the inside into 10A. Here we go, hard on the brakes with Korish to the outside, and Korish slots back in, and McCain holding on there, trying to chase down Forrester, the gap moving a little bit through this turn 11, final corner of the track, and now we go down the main straight and continue on along. McCain in a very good position here in 6th place, because of course, remember, we invert the top 6 after this heat when we go into the feature race. So McCain really just hoping to do one of two things: hang steady here where he's at, or move a position up, earn a couple more points, and then we'll just be inverted into 2nd place. So McCain, I think, will be playing the long-term strategy, but is losing a bit of time here through the S's. Korish is right on the back as well, and Korish does not appear to be a slump behind the wheel and is putting some really good pressure down.
Yeah, so earlier on, we saw McCain lose those 3 places in one go, of course, and that put him down 7th place. He's trying to break past Korish again at some point, though now McCain's struggling to stay with Woodmore and Forster just a little bit, 3/4 now. Second, Korish is not quite close enough, I think, for a move this time around on the back straight. Forster's quite close to Woodmore, though. That's 2nd place in from here from the old board of Craig Korish. If we take a look at what the driver can see on the way down towards the chicane, Forster can see the back of Woodmore's car, and now he's going to try and put that behind him as he goes in towards the chicane. There you can see the defence, but it's not enough. He doesn't have that door quite enough. And Forster breaks very late down the inside. But it's partly down to the fact that Woodmore broke quite early. Forster, though, into 2nd place in Pro-Am.
Yeah, I think Woodmore just played that a little bit safe in the moment. Forrester playing a little more aggressive, and that is just a case of, I believe, live to race another day, because we're going to be looking at the moment. Still 11 minutes and 45 seconds to go. Plenty of time left to race here, and you don't want to throw away your race here halfway through from too aggressive of a move. And as I say that, Peter Woodmore says, "Oh, do you mean like me trying to send it around here into the S's and get this pass done?" Not able to, but Woodmore has closed the gap quite significantly here as Forrester. No. Elaine McCain has closed the gap. That blue and red and black car. There we go. Now I can tell you what drivers are who. It's I promise I'm looking at the right timing table compared to everyone else. Here we go. Elaine McCain is now trying to put some moves down on Woodmore.
Yeah, this of course not first class position, as you can see with the colours on the left side of your screen, but nevertheless getting involved in the battling. There's never any animosity in this series towards a driver who might try to get involved in a battle that's not in their class. Really recognising that we are here for a bit of fun after all. Here goes Woodmore then. Recently passed down towards the chicane last time round on the way down back straight. This time though, it's Woodmore who's trying to move on him, or he's trying to push Forster. Is he trying to help? Don't know. He's just defensive there is Woodmore from McCain, who's on the outside of the chicane, and no. Can't get through. This will allow Forster to just go away slightly as he exits very good. That was just doing really. We'll still get the gun done despite being side Kane. That's a bit of a surprise. Although the curveballs Forster are going to have a momentum on the way towards turn 1. Momentum quite important in these slow cars. Woodmore has a look at the inside, and I can't quite tell really what he wants to make that move. Sean Atkinson's in. That's the champion there. It's Sean Atkinson having to make a drive through penalties. This is McCain having a look at Woodmore at the top of the hill.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see Sean Atkinson in here going through the pit lane, and while we have this battle going on, unfortunate to see Atkinson having to serve a drive-through, and there's a hard wide run from McCain. You got to be careful of the S's. You carry a little bit too much momentum, the car gets a little upset, you can very quickly find yourself into a wall, and Sean Atkinson serving that drive-through, going out. Looks like, if I have to guess, that is just a pure case of penalty points coming into play here. Just a little bit too much going on, and unfortunately it has cost him the all-important lead here in the heat race.
Absolutely. Let me know my mic is better again. Because it's I just know they were joking. It sounds like so I apologise if that's that word everyone is. Out of the there you go, and they remain in the same position, one after the other, over the line, 8.5 minutes remaining. This is by the big group in the period, and the most exciting battle as well. Playing the blue team again, looking for a move towards turn one stay behind in sixth place.
I'll say your mic sounds fine, but I did also just go take a peek at the stream, and I see what they're talking about. I'm going to see if I can sort that issue really quick on my side as the cars go through and around. We still have plenty of action happening. I do want to jump up here to Scott McFall really quick, because Scott McFall has just kind of said adios to the rest of the field and said goodbye. Korish making a move on McCain, though. Oh, Elaine McCain is off.
Yes. I'm afraid, I'm probably I'm afraid from sixth place, and that will drop him down to at least ninth, and perhaps more importantly down to fourth place in the pro category. Yeah, my mic is still behaving bad. I'll go to you.
Very interesting to see the mic issues. We'll sort that out here as quick as we can. Apologies to everybody in the YouTube chat for that. Trying to tell, there's nothing that I can really see happening on my side, unfortunately. It's a very weird moment. We'll see if we can sort that one out. 2 seconds.
Give it another go and see.
That we shall. I mean, hopefully that fixed itself out. Again, apologize to everyone in YouTube chat. Give it just a second here for us to test it. It sounds fine on my end, and I'm hearing the broadcast, so I'm not sure what is happening.
Okay, it sounded better that time round, so I'm going to continue on and hope it doesn't go wrong again. Otherwise, yeah, everyone's ears will be bleeding.
Oh, yes. I blame YouTube.
I don't know what was going on there. Anyway, battle for fourth place overall is still ongoing. Alan McCain's spin has kind of split that group apart that we were enjoying so much earlier on. Because we were focusing on our own microphones, I'm not entirely sure if we even really spoken about what actually happened there. But yeah, was running up inside the top 6, spun around, and of course will not be benefiting from the reverse grid anymore, which he would have been earlier on.
And that's going to be... Now, granted, his race starts are absolutely glorious, so I don't know if he'll have too much of an issue with that, but we'll see how that affects here. I think the big other action to look at right here is Peter Woodmore, who's still putting pressure on Forrester just ahead and was right there to the back of him, has opened up a little bit through turns 10 into turn 11, and this is continuing to ebb and flow. We've got 5.5 minutes left to go in this heat, and Ewan, one, you do sound much better now, as far as I can tell. Not that you sounded bad before, at least to me, but, you know, to the stream it was bad.
Else,
two, it seems like a lot of drivers are just really settling in on this heat and just trying to make it to the end of this heat, collect some quick points, and then get their way to the feature race.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, the reverse grid feature race where the top 6 will be reversed. Just less than 5 minutes to go. And Korish is caught with Woodmore for this one. Dan Forster has gotten away in the 4th position at the moment, so he's doing a good job. And it is now Woodmore on the defensive from Korish. Further back, Curtis Matthews, I'm afraid, has got off the road. That was a sustained moment off for him. And he's just blinking a little bit as well. I'd imagine he might well be on some hotel Wi-Fi, which can't be great. Oh dear, yeah, that's not a pretty sight, is it? Hopefully that stabilises itself out. And still he can still stay connected, I should say. Still running inside the top 3, though, is Duffy, so he's doing a good job for the moment, as Corish now closes on Woodmore in towards the final chicane and cannot make his way through.
Yeah, Korish here is going to be just continuing to apply pressure, look for a move where he can. Woodmore is now dropping outside of a second to Forrester. You've got Michael Vester in the background here who is putting pressure on Terry Atkinson as they go through. And you can see Atkinson taking a very, very, very defensive line there through turns 10 into turn 11, and Michael Vester getting a little swirly there on the curbs, but able to hold on to it and keep his car going straight ahead. Korish coming through and around and seems to be fairly comfortable as well here in the position he's found himself as they go through. Here we go. Korish does look very fast, but Woodmore looks like he's got a very strong defense in that GR86 and is able to hold Korish back, at least through the S's here. We'll see if Korish tries to make a dive into turn 6 and turn 7.
This would be quite brave at turn 6. You don't often see that, but Korish stays behind. Can't go anywhere just for the moment as they make their way out of turn 7 now. Oh, whoa, that's a slide from Woodmore, and that's going to give the place to Korish immediately. Slides so much, it almost looked intentional letting him through, but he wasn't. It was just a bit of an error, and so it's going to be up to Woodmore now to try and regain that place. And actually, he's let Korish through so soon that he might even be able to gain the slipstream and then come back again here in towards the final chicane. This could be interesting as Woodmore has a look. He stays behind, though. It will be 2 laps to go now as they make their way up towards the line.
And as they go through, come around, this is going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I want to jump back here to Michael Vester because he is yet again here in the battle for AM, is putting some pressure down on to Terry Atkinson. Terry Atkinson going the inside, Vester to the outside. Vester has the run. He has the jump ahead, and Terry Atkinson has to relegate the lead of AM right at the end of this run to Vester. Vester doing a very, very good pass there. They'd set that up the previous lap, didn't make it work. This time, no problems found at all here. We check in with our pro leader, Scott McFall, though, and Ewan, Scott McFall doing just, I mean, I don't want to say this is what I would expect, but I would be surprised if it was anything less in the heat race. Qualify on pole, run it through. The feature race is where we tend to see Scott McFall really get put under pressure as he tries to snake his way through traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be very, very interesting to see, but so far this season, Scott McFall hasn't been held back by the reverse grid race at all. He's, of course, won every single round, every single race of the TVG GR86 series here so far this season. Further in the background, there is Woodmore and Korish again. This is the battle for the highest place in the field. Terry Atkinson versus Michael Vester is also a leading battle ongoing, but whichever way round that goes, it looks like Terry Atkinson will take a big stride forward towards the championship here as he's, at the moment, beating Sean Atkinson in this first race.
It will be a good swing for the championship here, and I'm curious to see how this AM battle right here for 6th place, 5th place comes into play, because remember, we invert the top 6 into the feature races. They come through. Barney has the white flag, so for Woodmore, it's one more chance to get around Korish and nab some all-important points as they go through, and they look fairly quick here, Peter Woodmore does, and as we go through the S's, final time through the S's, and I like riding on board here with Woodmore because you can see that you're only slowing down to about 80 miles an hour, and now as you head down towards the bottom of the hill, Woodmore with a bit of a run, 100 miles an hour at the bottom of this hill, 107 flashing up just for a moment. That is lightning quick in essentially what's a production Toyota.
Yeah, absolutely. We were chatting to someone last week, weren't we, about the fact they drive their road car, GR86, and how it feels so familiar in the sim. Through the 6th and 7th corners of this racetrack they go. This will be the battle to watch to the line, because further out front, Scott McFall is on his way to taking another race victory in this series. It will be 11 race wins after this one, if he can just go through this final chicane okay, and it looks like it will be another one. Number 11, for Scott McFall as he takes another win in the TVG GR86 series in the Pro class. Further back, Andy White looks like he's going to take his own big stride forward towards the Pro-Am Championship as he takes a victory here in that class. Further back, the final podium place is still up for grabs here. Chorus ahead of Woodmore. He gains 3 places to get into the top 5 overall and onto the podium in the Pro-Am field.
Absolutely amazing run to see them, and you see the light flash there from Woodmore as we get near the end. Here in the back, this battle just barely shaping itself up. Maybe not done at this point. Look at the run from Terry Atkinson, possibly trying a late dive in the inside through turn 11, and here we go, to the line they go. This is for Am win, and there it is, just barely. Vester over Atkinson by 8/100ths of a second at the line.
That was very, very close indeed, but Vester hangs on just about. Michael Vester ahead of Terry Atkinson. A bit further back, we're going to have to wait quite a while, actually, for the likes of Stephen Wild to come over the line. But that was the closest finish for an overall class victory. Apologies for not giving that maybe the airtime we should have done. But to be honest, it was only a battle that really appeared in the final moments of that race. And to be honest, I didn't expect it to be that close. I thought Terry Atkinson, first of all, I didn't think Terry Atkinson would risk making an overtake, given he's in the championship lead and he's gaining on Sean Atkinson in this race, whether he made that overtake or not.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting to see the move. I think that's a little bit of a driver deciding they want to win and want to go for it, as opposed to just playing the safe bet. We all know drivers always want to go for the safe, not necessarily go for the safe moments. They want to get ahead, and I think that is what we saw there. But we'll pull up the results for you here, Ewan, so we can go through them.
Yeah, let's have a look here. It is the 11th win for Scott McFall, 9.1 seconds ahead of Jack Holland. The Pro-Am win, I should say, for Andy White, just behind. That's his 3rd in a row. Dan Forster and Craig Corish also on the podium, as Peter Woodmore just got beaten at the end there. Lee Rylands was watching on as well from 7th place. Aidan Hatfield and Alan McCain, followed by Michael Vester, final driver in the top 10, first driver in the Am field, ahead of Terry Atkinson. Jeremy Ullerman's had a drive-through penalty, of course, and dropped to 12th. Curtis Matthews finished on the podium, despite the fact he's on a new rig. Sean Atkinson just off of that, and that's a real big hit in the points for him, I'm afraid. John Johnson and Stephen Wild round out the 16 drivers, all of whom got to the end of that race. Well, we're in a warm-up session just at the moment, so it's worth reminding you about the GR86 UK series that is starting in 2 weeks' time. We've got one more round of the TVG GR86 series here. It will be from Summit Point on the JP YouTube channel, same time, same place next week. However, we've still got another season and series to go before the end of 2024. It will be the UK series, GR86 style. The circuits we'll be going to, pretty much all the UK circuits I can think of, on iRacing. Brownsats to start the season, followed by Donington Park, Oulton Park, Snetterton's 300 layout, Knockhill in Scotland, Silverstone and Cadwell Park, the newest addition from the UK contingent of circuits. I think that's all of the UK tracks, isn't it? Over the course of 7 weeks. I don't know if I'm missing any, but anyway, that's what we'll be doing from 2 weeks onwards. We've spoken about it, of course, before, but yes, make sure you get yourself involved if you can do on a Sunday evening for more GR86 racing. As we were saying before, Brad, you have your own North America GR86 series in real life. We're having a UK one in the sim as well. I think some of those circuits will suit this car rather well, actually. There are not many that don't suit this car well, actually. I think the advantage for UK circuits is the fact that sometimes quite narrow, quite short for, bigger cars like GT3s or even faster. However, for these cars, no circuit's too small, and that can be to the advantage of a UK series.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how that UK GR86 Cup goes. It's going to be very exciting for me to watch. Just, you summed it up best. We've always described these cars before as the big brother of the MX-5. I've said that time and time again through the season. These cars are the big brother to the MX-5. You have to run the MX-5s to get to the point where you can race these cars in iRacing. These are not rookie class cars. These cars are on the Class D road license, so you have to level up at least I call it a level up. You have to license up at least one license to get to run these cars competitively, and they're free to the service. So it's your, tiptoe into a little bit higher tier racing, and they've got a bit more to give. So I think every one of those UK tracks that we're going to are perfectly suited for that, because I think every one of those UK tracks have an MX-5 Cup, and pretty much anywhere in MX-5 races, or a Miata as they are traditionally known. Well, I say traditionally, but as everyone really knows them. If you can run a Miata somewhere, you can run a GR86 there.
Absolutely, it's going to be. It's going to be a good season for sure. Just over a minute left in this warm-up session. Top 6 will be reversed, of course, from that opening race of the day. Now, it's difficult to see Scott McFall not winning this race, to be honest, but I think his main challenge is going to be Jack Holland here, who finished in second place during that race. Was only a few seconds behind him, couldn't stay with him in that occasion, but was only a couple of seconds behind him. And of course, he's starting one position ahead of him in this race. I wonder whether Holland can spring a surprise and win his first race of the season.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Well, it's not a impossible ask. It is something that can happen. We'll just have to keep our eyes on it and see how it plays out. I'm very interested to see how the reverse grid goes, but traditionally we see Scott McFall have pressure early on to get up to the front, but usually within about the first 10 minutes he gets his way to the front and then has no issues from there.
Hearing, unfortunately, that Sean Atkinson didn't put race fuel in for that race, so that's why he had to pit, and I'm afraid has taken a hit in the points compared to Terry Atkinson here in the opening race of the day, so that is a shame for him, and we will see how he gets on through race 2. However, it will be from behind Atkinson, where he really needs to gain some points. The checkered flag waves now in warm-up. And so let's see the grid here as we go forward to 25 minutes of racing here in race 2 at Road Atlanta in the TVG GR86 series. It's Peter Woodmore who'll be starting from pole, ahead of Craig Courish, Dan Forster and Andy White. And then the pros come. It's Jack Holland and Scott McFall. Lee Ryland's just missed out on the top 6, but he'll be right behind his pro rivals, with Adrian Hatfield just breaking that trend, as Alan McCain is behind him. See where he can get to on the start here. He was 4th at the end of the opening sector last time from 9th place. He's starting from 9th again here. Michael Vester rounds out the top 10 ahead of Terry Atkinson and Jeremy Ullermans. It's Curtis Matthews and Sean Atkinson on row 7 ahead of John Johnson and Stephen Wild on row 8. So we are pretty much ready to go. There's just 3 races remaining now in the season, and one of them, of course, will be here at Road Atlanta, with the final 2 at Summit Point in 1 week's time. The real home stretch is upon us. The lights are on in the TVG GR86 series from Road Atlanta, and we are underway. Woodmore from the front of the field gets away quite well, with Craig Courish just alongside on this quite long run in these cars towards turn number 1 at Road Atlanta. Andy White and Dan Forster already going side by side. White, and a crash! Already Dan Forster's off the road after contact. Andy White drops through the field as well. He's gone off. Oh, it's a big shame for the top 2 in prime. It's carnage on this start. Jack Holland has also been spun around. Michael Vester as well, the AM winner. So the Pro-Am and AM winners are both spun around on this opening lap of the day. Adrian Hatfield also now around, and a spin for John Johnson as well as he avoids him. Oh, goodness me, what carnage on this opening lap.
Well, that's a lot different of a run than we had in the start of the heat race. Heat race, we had some 3 wide, but they settled it out. This one, we didn't even make it through turn 2. However, this has shaken up so many sections of the track and of this session. You've got Woodmore and Courish up front, Scott McFall here in 3rd, and 4th place we were just focusing on of Lee Rylands with Elaine McCain. We'll go back and check out that restart here or that race start here in just a moment. Right now, I want to focus a little bit on Curtis Matthews, because Curtis Matthews is under pressure from Jeremy Orlemans, and of course Curtis Matthews with that little bit of a hotel Wi-Fi connection, but he's doing well to maintain his pace and kind of give a wide berth to those around him, but he is going to drop into 8th place here, but still looking very competitive early on. And as we settle out lap 1 here, Ewan, Peter Woodmore will be leading lap 1. Scott McFall relegated to 3rd.
He's already there, though, already contending for this race lead. We'll have some replays in a few minutes' time about all of this, because that was a very chaotic opening lap indeed, as the front three continue to drive away from the rest of the field. A good evening to Bradley Tidwell in YouTube chat, of course, features sometimes driving in JPB broadcasts on a Sunday afternoon over here in over here in Europe. He says he's supporting Curtis Matthews. Have a good and clean race. He is at the moment, so far. Battling at the moment with Sean Atkinson, and has just been relegated to third place. But a great job from him so far to have been on the podium in the opening race of the day. And at the moment, he's running in the podium places here as well.
Yeah, great runs from everyone through. You see this line of cars here, single file. This is your big group of guys that got caught out there in lap one. Let's go back and take a few minutes here as the action has given a little breathing room here. Andy White, Stephen Wild going side by side here, and Andy White taking that inside line against Wild, and then behind him, Jack Holland, of course, looking around the outside, actually, of John Johnston getting through there. Little run off the track goes Holland. Holland actually trying to make the pass on Hadfield. Apologies there. Let's go back and check out lap one and try to break this down a little bit, because there was a lot of things happening here. This is your race start. Let's get a little bit of an overhead view, because this is how it started, and then from there we just had many more things happen.
Yeah, so there was initial contact between White and Forster. I think, well, I don't know actually what I think about that one. Then afterwards, White and Holland collided, and they both spun around. Just look to the inside here and towards turn number one. Does White turn across Forster, or does Forster turn across White? I can't quite decide myself. Then, as I say, White and Holland both collided between the two of them. Then they both spun round, and that really halted some of the drivers a little bit further back in this field. There's the contact. White and Holland both spin around. Then some of people have nowhere to go. Other people crash into some others as they're trying to avoid. There's some of the contact that happens a little bit further down. And then further up through the field, we'll have to have another look, because at the top of the hill, Adrian Hatfield went off the road in a separate incident, spinning around right onto the racing line, and in avoidance, John Johnson was among those drivers who spun around avoiding him. It was side by side at the top of the hill here. Hatfield gives room, oh well, maybe not quite actually, gets tipped around, he's on the inside, oh he shouldn't roll on back onto the circuit like that really, and there's Johnston right through the bottom of your shot, sliding through the grass, spinning around, and he drops now to the back of the field as well.
Yeah, we'll get one view here from John Johnston, because I'm really curious to see what he saw. You see the car rolling, go through, and, well, the tires only have so much grip when you're trying to avoid that situation. Hold the brakes, good job holding the brakes, and then get back on track and go. Let's go back to live pictures here, because things have developed, and what has developed? Well, here's your answer. Scott McFall up to the front, Korish in second, and Peter Woodmore in third. I'll see if I can get us a quick replay of how this came through here as we continue on, but Scott McFall wasting no time to get back in the position he wants to be in.
Yeah, no real surprise, to be honest, for McFall to be back in the lead again, and maybe on his way to his 12th overall victory in just 12 races. A little bit further down, Sean Atkinson is in second place in the AM class, but Curtis Matthews is right behind him. Andy White there as well as Aidan Hatfield and Jack Holland. So it's all a big battle here for 9th place overall, and all three classes involved in this fight.
Absolutely. It's amazing to watch here, and we'll get this quick replay of what happened with Peter Woodmore and Korish and Scott McFall. Here's your replay. So this was Peter Woodmore in the lead, Korish looking for a pass, and Korish is going to look Scott McFall just right in the back as well. This is down the long back straight here, down towards turn 10, and Korish gets the pass done. McFall's following through, and McFall going into turn 10 is still behind, but coming out of turn 10 into turn 11 is going to just very quickly get the slipstream and get his way through and around the inside of turn 11 down the main straight, and just settles in, holds on, main straight, little bit more speed that Scott McFall is carrying, and then going into turn 1 will look and settle in that pass. But that is how that happened, and ended up with our leaders where they're at here. We jump back in with live pictures. Sean Atkinson leading out this big group of cars behind Matthews, White, Holland, Hadfield that are behind him in the battle for 9th place.
Matthews taking slightly the wrong line there, and Andy White now goes through. Oh dear! And Holland, I think, tried to take advantage, but is now got no momentum. And here goes Adrian Hatfield on the inside of him. Matthews won't go back through on White, I wouldn't have thought, because they're in different classes. But and Hatfield will be maybe slightly demotivated to overtake Holland because they're all in different classes. Now all 5 of these drivers in this group are either ahead of or behind someone not in their class, and nobody's battling with someone for actual points here, just overall track position. It's a very rare situation here that you see a group with no class battles involved.
Yeah, it's a unique moment, but I think it's the nature of the inverted top 6 in turn 1 here. I want to jump up. This is the battle for 4th place overall. This is Rylands and McCain, and this is a battle for position, and this is the battle for 2nd and 3rd in pro as they go along and continue. McCain right on that back end of Rylands and just holding on, slipstreaming a 1/10 of a second the gap here as they go through. And can he clear a pass into turn 10? Well, he surely has the momentum. Will he take a dive up the inside? He doesn't. He's actually going to settle this one in and hold on. So for another moment, McCain behind Rylands. Again, that's your battle for 2nd and 3rd in pro.
It certainly is. And this is going to be a good finish, I think, for both of these. If they can stay on the road, I think they'll stay ahead of Holland and they'll both be on the podium. But let's see on that front, down towards turn 1, no move there. Atkinson still holds on to 9th place then overall. 2 seconds behind Terry Atkinson. I think is going to be a difficult catch to make here. But he's going to try and make it, that's for sure. Hadfield here, now back ahead of Holland and behind Curtis Matthews. So after that spin, I'm afraid Jack Holland has gone from maybe challenging Scott McFall to, well, not even troubling the top 10 overall as things stand.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate to see that that's the moment we found. But again, lap 1, I keep going back to lap 1. We don't usually see big moments like that here in the Tanso Racing Group in these GR86s. It's very unique to me to see a moment like that occur, but when it does, man, the fireworks go off as we ride on board here. Andy White side by side with Sean Atkinson. Sean Atkinson up the inside. Does he hold on to the position? Well, for the moment he does. Andy White still around the outside, takes a very different line there, and Sean Atkinson able to hold on to 9th place overall.
That certainly is. It's so congested though. At the moment, it's a good run from Hatfield here, and he's already alongside. Speaking of alongside, McCain and Rylands battle away down the hill here as well. There's always too much to watch. McCain on the inside line, and he will hang on to 4th place on this occasion. What about in the background? It's 2 wide between Atkinson and White, and here goes Hatfield and Holland on Matthews as well. Down in towards the chicane, it's late on the brakes from White who goes through. Andy White is still only 5th in Pro-Am though, of course, as it's side by side now between Hatfield and Matthews. Here goes Holland, through on both of them, on the inside, 3 wide on the inside, and Jack Holland is finally going to make up some places, is he? Side by side with Matthews, who runs a bit wide as he tries to fend off these attacks. He will stay on the outside line and stay behind by the looks of things. Holland's now finally through, back into 11th place again after that 3 wide moment.
You know what? For Curtis Matthews being on a laptop, portable rig, hotel Wi-Fi, he is racing his heart out. This is impressive, especially considering that we know the disadvantages that are coming with his setup. It's very impressive to see him fighting side by side, running through the way he is. Woodmore and Corich have had it coming together.
Oh dear, oh dear. This is a battle for... Is it with Corish? Yes, it is indeed. You're right. This is the battle for 2nd place. And look at the pros. Here they go. McCain and Rylands are both onto them now as well. After that incident through turn 7, here goes McCain through on Woodmore. Into the slipstream on Corish. He's going to fly through here too. This is a dream scenario for Alan McCain especially, who makes his way up into 2nd place overall.
How did that happen? I didn't think they had a remotely close gap to each other. I know they were sort of close, but I didn't think they were that close here as we see Corish now getting back up into 3rd here. Rylands in 4th. Very, very close. This has been a lifeline to the likes of McCain and Rylands going through for that moment. Side by side, they're going to come, and all of a sudden, we have a battle for P3 and a battle for the lead in Pro-Am out of nowhere.
Yeah, we certainly do. This is quite remarkable indeed. Well, good for us to see that we've got so many battles going on in the field. Jeremy Ullermans is going to be here as well, so all of the podium sitters so far are going to be sitting in this group now in the slipstream. Of course, the slipstream is so important in these cars to try and utilise and try and keep. And to have the front three in Pram all having that is a very good thing. Sean Atkinson as well has tagged onto the back of Andy White and caught Terry Atkinson, so that's worth keeping an eye on as well. This race is getting very interesting indeed as we approach its second half.
It absolutely is. Terry Atkinson with a bit of an off-track moment there, but that is going to be okay. White and Sean Atkinson will just stick along. I want to go back and check out what happened here to Craig Corish. Let's get a replay here. So this is Craig Corish with Peter Woodmore, and this is their moment here. Hard on the brakes is Corish. Corish ramps the curb, spins, and comes right back into the racing line, flips Woodmore. So they weren't that close. That was a case of a spin that caused a spin.
A little bit, yeah. They're closer than I thought they were, actually, but there you go. It was, very much a spin that caused a spin, as you say. Here goes Andy White through on Terry and Sean Atkinson. Both of them letting that happen, really. There's no point in actually fighting him at the moment, so down the hill they'll go. Whoa, careful! Terry Atkinson broke a bit too late there. Very nearly went straight into the side of White, but he didn't quite. And stays behind. Here goes Sean Atkinson, though. Through on the inside. Goodness me, this is a big battle. As far as the season is concerned, Sean Atkinson needed to gain some of those points he lost in the opening race of the day, and he's through into the AM lead. What a great race the AM class has had so far. 0.08 of a second between first and second in race 1, and they're battling with 11.5 to go here in race 2 as well.
Yeah, hopefully they get along very well, and a family dinner won't be too awkward. I believe they're related. I can't remember exactly how at this point. Yeah. Something big has just happened. There goes Elaine McCain. What in the world has just happened? We've had another big moment, and I can't find a single camera shot of it. Several drivers dropping down the field. Lee Ryland's in that, Peter Woodmore in that, Elaine McCain in that. What has caused this?
Let's have a look. It's through turn 5, which is to be expected, really. McCain was leading the line, hits the inside curb, spins around, and I think Woodmore was separate. It was! Oh, goodness. So McCain spins round on his own, and the Woodmore crash is completely separate. He's got Lee Rylands right behind him. Woodmore is not over the inside curb like McCain was, but he's over the outside one. He gets loose, hits the outside wall, bounces across the circuit into Lee Rylands, who's just quite a nice 360 recovery. But unfortunately, that has split apart the group, and Peter Woodmore looks to be out of this race.
Peter Woodmore, again, that's not going to be for damage, as damage is off in this series, but Peter Woodmore has called it a day here. And what does that mean for us? Well, at this point, Elaine McCain, Andy White running side by side here. They are battling it out for P6, but at this point, it's Scott McFall with a 14-second lead over Corish and Orlemans that goes through. Dan Forrester in 4th, Lee Rylands down to 5th.
Certainly. Oh, Andy White's down the order now as well here. So has there been another incident here in this race? Goodness me, it is all going on here in race 2 as the final 10 minutes of the round at Road Atlanta continues on. Just to remind you, Brad, Terry and Sean are brothers, says Stephen Needham. So thank you very much for that, because we've forgotten exactly how they were related. Lee Ryland's off the road again at turn 5. This time, I don't think he was taken out by somebody else. Instead, he may have had his own spin.
The S's are probably the most dangerous part of this track, and by probably, I mean with all certainty that I can say other than turn 10. And those curbs are not kind at all, and you can see Lee Rylands, one lap ago had a spin there, next lap has another spin, and for Lee Rylands, that is all the way back to P13 now. That is, not a race to write home about. Up in the front, though, for Sean Atkinson, it's a top 5 for the AM driver, and this will be a race he'll be very happy with, but he has to keep a certain Mr. Elaine McCain behind. If he can pull that off, it'll be a top 5 finish, at least possibly a top 6 finish.
There goes McCain through. He's still in 2nd in Pro, don't forget, so still doing a good job as far as the class is concerned, but the overall finish is an impressive one as well, as He makes his overtake on Sean Atkinson. I think this leading battle is going to be a very, very interesting one, if not an interrupted one, if you like, from those behind. Look at Andy White just behind. You'd imagine he's certainly quicker than these two, and will be chasing down the podium place, although that's going to be exceptionally difficult to achieve. He's nearly 10 seconds behind Dan Forster, so maybe that's not going to be possible. But he will be quicker than the two AM drivers. Of course, made a mistake to drop behind them both in towards turn one last time, and we'll just see how he affects the two Atkinsons here, Andy White, because he's in the slipstream already and looking to make this move.
Yeah, he's going to be very quickly gaining on them if they continue to battle through. Looking at lap times for all of our drivers on their last lap, that is what's on your leaderboard now. Looking at a couple of drivers that have really stood out to me, Orlemans and Forrester standing out. Porsche is running a 136.0, but a 135.3 from Orlemans, so that will be a battle for the lead in Pro-Am that will heat up. And there's a couple more drivers through the field that are continuing to really stick out and show their pace. I want to check in up front here with Porsche and Orlemans, because that gap is now under half a second as they go through turn 10. And again, this is not just the battle for second place overall. This is the battle for the lead in Pro-Am.
It is, yep. It certainly is. And what a recovery from Jeremy Orlemans, by the way. Finished down in 12th place in that opening race because he had a drive-through penalty. And now, all of a sudden, from the very back of the field, he's negotiated the slalom of the opening chaotic lap. And now he's battling for a Pro-Am win. What a road to recovery it would be for him if he could take a Pro-Am victory here. Meanwhile, Alan McCain is under big pressure from Sean Atkinson. I can't tell if this is helping Sean at the moment in terms of giving slipstream from Alan McCain, or whether it is just hindering him, and whether McCain's getting in the way of what Sean Atkinson can really do in this car.
Yeah, it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Something has happened to Craig Korsch up front, and Orlemans now has the lead through. We come across the line, and there is Korsch running extremely slow. He is just now getting his speed back there. Forrester pass. McCain is gaining very quickly. I'll see if I can find us a replay of what just happened, but that is going to settle that lead in Pro-Am with 6 minutes to go.
That is a real shame for Korsch. I thought we were going to get a great battle there between the two Pro-Am leaders, but what a drive for Jeremy Orlemans, and this would be a historic victory for him if he can make it. The leader overall, Scott McFall, is miles out front, of course, but he is about to go across the line to give us 4 laps remaining here at Road Atlanta, so we'll have 3 extra laps compared to what we had in the opening race of the day. Down the back straight they go. Alan McCain is just about ahead of Sean Atkinson for the moment, and Terry Atkinson, but the 4 of them stay single file on the way into the chicane this time round.
That they do, and for McCain, that is a blessing in disguise, as he has the pressure behind, but it gives him another opportunity to just kind of run his lap and go through. He's not showing a ton of pace over the Atkinson brothers, as they look very, very fast and feisty, but Road Atlanta is a track that most drivers know, and it's one of those that I like to say you need to be able to put down a hot lap on it and have no questions asked. This is a track that you need to be very familiar with and be able to get up to speed in any car very quick. You need to know the layout, know the intricacies of the track. I want to go back and check out this, what happened to Craig Korsch here. We have our replay. This is Craig Korsch going up through turn 5. There's a little bit of curb. There's some curb. He ramps off the gravel pit into the wall, and, well, then the car is facing the wrong way, rolls back out, and that is why we saw him get past going so slow.
I think that's a visual representation of pressure, to be honest with you. I think Korsch there wasn't under loads of pressure, to be honest, but you know, just the presence of Orlemans right behind meant that, you know, he went way too far over the inside curb. Then that bounces you out to the very outside curb, right over the gravel and the bumps on the outside line, and all of a sudden you are in the wall and spinning around. So that was a shame for Korsch, who is still on the podium at least, but he's not going to be winning this race by the looks of things. On board with Terry Atkinson. Again, I think the same question applies here as to what we had in the opening race of the day. Will Terry Atkinson really be that interested in making an overtake on Sean Atkinson here? Because he knows his point situation. He comes into today 49 ahead of Sean. He finished in second place in that opening race, with Sean down in 4th place. I think even if positions stay as they are right now, he would take a gain on the day, and that would be very, very useful indeed if indeed he were to be going into this final round with a margin to sit on, a bit of a cushion to sit on in the AM Championship. So, how eager and how desperately is Terry Atkinson going to be trying to make this move on Sean Atkinson for the lead in AM?
Yeah, this is going to be one of the big moments here that I think will define this feature race. Sean Atkinson putting a lot of pressure on McCain as they go through. Terry Atkinson is very quickly closing the gap now with that moment from Sean Atkinson that we just saw, and that is going to continue to compress through the rest of the field, very spread out. I do want to check in with our race leader, Scott McFall, as he is coming across the line. I don't think he'll get the white flag this lap, as they've been running a minute 34. Yep. 2 more laps to go, but plenty of action there. Let's jump back here because Andy White just got passed.
Yeah, Sean Atkinson just went wide through turn 7, and that's allowed Terry Atkinson and Andy White through. I said that Terry Atkinson might not be that desperate to make an overtake, but he's certainly not going to pass up the opportunity if it's handed to him on a plate like that was. And through he goes. Now, will Andy White stay in the middle of the two Atkinsons here, or will he try and get past Terry and push on? Because he's not going to gain any positions in his class. This is just overall bragging rights, really. And I think earlier on, he didn't really want to get involved because it was a leading fight ahead, but now he's in the middle of it. Does he try and get out of the way and lose a position or game? He's going to lose a position. He wants to make sure, of course, he'll stay ahead of Adrian Hatfield, but he also wants to make sure the AM leaders get a fair fight at this, and he lets Sean Atkinson through as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very mature decision there from Andy White. If that's the case, that he was letting them through on purpose, which everything looks like he was, but that's a very good decision there to go ahead and let this battle for the overall lead and AM fight out on track. Hats off to that decision here. We go through Terry Atkinson leading Sean Atkinson by 0.2 of a second here. No!
He's gone! He spins around, and that will be that. Terry Atkinson surely is going to win here and take a big stride towards the AM Championship with that. Sean Atkinson over the inside curb, spins around into the wall at turn 5 and drops out of the podium places in the AM class. Let's have a look. Oh, well, we're behind the trees here, but there's the spin. There's some more trees.
Well, I thought that we would get a better angle from that camera, but obviously I was wrong, so apologies for that.
There we go. Inside line, it's just the inside curve, isn't it? He's already sliding, to be fair, but inside curve certainly doesn't help. Terry Atkinson also gets through, by the way, on Alan McCain, who went off in front. So Atkinson, surely Terry Atkinson now on his way to a victory in the class as McCain and White go side by side. That's Alan McCain getting back through into 6th and nearly hitting Terry Atkinson.
Yeah, they'll come across through 18.3 seconds. The gap out front for the record was Scott McFall. Scott McFall already through the S's on his final lap. We'll check in with him when he's a little bit closer to the end. Barney over there on the side with the white flag waving. So we are through. The timer will tick in, and Terry Atkinson here, McCain gets around, and Terry Atkinson will try to hold back Andy White. But again, this is all just inner position mingling. This is not for class, and this is just the battle of the battle as they go through.
It certainly is. As we see the on board with Terry Atkinson. As time elapses, the white flag is now waving for everybody, or has been waved at them as they've made their way over the line. And already, round towards the end of the lap, Scott McFall is on his way to a 12th victory. What a season he's been having. Totally dominant throughout this TVG GR86 series. And Scott McFall is going to take yet another huge advantage at the front of the field. And more importantly, a 12th race victory of the season. Scott McFall continues his 100% record in the TVG GR86 series. As further back, the story of the day is going to finish in 2nd place overall, but more importantly, 1st in the Pro-Am class. Jeremy Orlemans weaves under the bridge. He already knows it from 12th place on the grid in this race, avoiding the carnage from the back to the front. The Pro-Am winner, Jeremy Orlemans, what a drive from him in 2nd place overall. And further behind, a big stride towards the championship for Terry Atkinson, who's going to win here in the AM class, 2nd in race 1, 1st in race 2. He's going to come out with the same amount of points, or even just a couple more points than Vesta, who beat him to the line in race 1. He is odds-on favourite now to take that championship in 1 week's time at Summit Point.
And a couple other storylines to point out here. Curtis Matthews ends the night in 9th place, up 4 on the day. Elaine McCain up 4 places on the day. And a couple other drivers that have had less than fortunate runs. Lee Rylands, of course, we saw his moments through. Jack Holland not having the best of races. And, of course, big hats out to Peter Woodmore, who is in the pits after lap 9, having his off. So drivers up and down the field having better moments, worse moments, but in the end, I say this every week, I absolutely love the racing that this series produces.
It certainly does. Week after week, great racing in the GR86 series, and once again, it delivers here too. It's delivered for us, though, as well. Another Scott McFall victory. 19.5 seconds this time ahead of Jeremy Ullermans, with Dan Forster and Craig Courish also on the podium. Alan McCain was in the top 5 overall. Terry Atkinson let him through because he knew he would be the AM winner. He was just ahead of Andy White, who will still be the Pro-Am Championship leader, with Adrian Hatfield just behind. Curtis Matthews, another podium for him, with Michael Vester just in behind as well on the podium. Jack Holland and Lee Rylands finished 11th and 12th, with Sean Atkinson finishing off the podium again, I'm afraid. Stephen Wild and John Johnston were the final drivers to finish, with Peter Woodmore 7 laps down after his incident partway through that race. Well, no surprise as to where the overall win went for Scott McFall, but some surprises elsewhere. Great drive from Jeremy Ullermans. A big championship day for Terry Atkinson, but good racing overall, really, here at Road Atlanta in round 6.
Yeah, Road Atlanta producing some absolutely beautiful racing, as this track tends to do. This is a track that I never really see it produce a bad race. I always see it produce good action, good, hard-fought racing, and it's been an absolute joy to watch, as always, here with the Tanso group. And I always say it, the GR86s are probably one of the most slept-on vehicles in iRacing, as they always produce great runs all the way through. Ewan, do we have any of our winners floating around here for you, sir?
No. Don't have anybody floating around at all at the moment, so we'll give them just a couple more moments here. Sean Atkinson saying in YouTube chat that he got held up by the pro driver. It was Alan McCain, I think he was ahead of him, or Lee Rylands. They were both floating around there, and missed his marker for turn number 5, and that's what put an end to his charge for the race victory here. And it's Jack in YouTube. I'm going to presume that's Jack Collins. Carnage start, but that was fun. And this is the Carnage start one more time, Brad, before we leave you here this evening. I mean, the most chaotic start this season. There's no doubt about that.
This start, I mean, it wasn't one thing, it was another, and that's why we have to go back and watch it one more time. This is not the normal in this series, which I think is what makes it, honestly, I don't have a better phrase for it, but it's kind of what makes it so entertaining to watch, is this is not what we normally see from these drivers. We usually see extremely close and clean racing. We don't usually see any of these moments, but it kind of also, hats off to Road Atlanta. It's a challenging track to get right, and sometimes it's the case of just inches that completely separates everything. And a couple of the drivers that got through just completely unscathed here. Terry Atkinson, we're watching, and I say unscathed, but I think the no damage model is what saved him there, because you could see that right front completely disconnect for a second from this camera angle.
Yep, absolutely. So that's just about going to do it for us here tonight as we look through that replay of the start. This has been round 6 of the TVG GR86 series from Road Atlanta. We'll be back next week, of course, for Summit Point and the final race. But from myself, Ian Leary, and Bradley Dalton alongside me, it's goodbye for now, and we'll see you in Summit Points in 1 week's time.